When you get to a place in your life and you start looking at 55 plus plus. So what you could do is like in elevator systems, building owners could type in music, and Muzak was they would basically play a stream of music. And Susan, and I don't know if it was genre driven. I mean, if you go to like a Chinese restaurant or an Asian restaurant, you may have a certain type of music. I think they could do it in the day. And we're going back. But this is going back into the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So like I was in branch banking, and many years that was my first career was I was a career banker before real estate. And
the PowerPoint on there.
Branch was big.
PowerPoint.
You could justify the cost. You could actually subscribe to Muzak because the building's pretty solid. For all the systems, you just had to have the receiver.
Okay.
So the receiver subscribed to the and again,
I just got it.
all I know is where the bar was on the wall. So if the branch got to it, my branch was like, "Mine, turn it easy, turn it."
Wow,
Business to grow. We can't turn this.
Yeah, I mean, some people can thrive with that music in the background, but some of us are overloaded and can't do that. It just depends, but I don't know how they decide.
Well, there have been studies. There have been. You probably have seen it too. They have done studies that if you like certain music, it might be even to the younger generation. I have 31-year-old son, 30, 29, 31. It's just a little too big. So, REO Speedwagon, Brothers, Fleetwood Mac, that generation. And they've actually done studies that across generations, it would play a certain you might think about it.
Because you've got to use your brain.
Yeah.
And you know, if you're just gonna plug around, you might not do both. You might be there for music and not with your ear. So yeah, I would think there's studies on that.
Yeah, on Target, they used to.
It looks like this could be a new
but now they use it.
Really? I hadn't thought about that, but see,
Kevin,
that's
that's birthday on
subconscious
Sunday, right?
stuff.
Yeah.
Sunday? Kevin, that's birthday. Saturday.
But yeah, I was
Got a
not
nice
listening to spending
It's
with
hard
the
to hit
kids like
39,
a grocery
isn't it?
store by myself.
Pushing that 40, it's just terrible. And my wife put it 39, that's it.
Three little crazy.
She had her
people
first born at 4. So that's a different story.
Good, how are you?
Long time, how are you?
She told my son, her mom is 39 years old.
Yes.
You were born when I was 4 years old.
Make sure I came to your class.
That's
That's
good.
I love music, but like I said,
How you been, what do you got going on lately?
I like it to be.
I'm back individual, part of the
Okay.
individual sales agent. That's what I want to create. Just,
I'll tell you on a serious note.
And so, Alone loves for people to do that.
yeah, and next one coach's appointment that's later today. Unfortunately, the agent's on.
Have you got your
Oh, I keep getting that mixed up with
Seeing a little bit of state.
Fuller House and then.
Yeah, you had a fun journey for sure. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love it.
I thought that.
You have what?
Thank you.
I did not bring a clicker.
Yes.
Do I just kind of not, you want me to just kind of
Thank you.
point to you or?
I can put this up there.
Where?
Oh, yeah.
I think one of my very good friends.
Is there a way to do it with my phone or no?
There's a commercial guy out there. But it's okay. There's a few going out offices that sure know. So you're, well, yeah, that's not uncommon. Yeah.
Good morning, so far? Good. You don't give me a rush, I thought I was going to be late, but no. I hate to be late.
Right, I want to, but typically they start.
Are people still doing
Like,
online?
I think they have to,
We
this
just
time
started
to
back
socialize,
doing
right?
Zoom, like.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, also, it's probably back to school. Jim's
That's
he's
true,
probably
that's
saying
true.
there's people gonna be running late, because half of this room are mothers and fathers trying to get kids to school.
And nice, maybe it's a good way, a good day for you guys. to
Are
get
representing
kids
the different countries in this office.
They all look the same.
With that box?
Yeah, I did
The
it
boxes
with
are
my
we ordered a flag for every country in the world.
friends that are teachers and everything, and they just love
So
it.
that's just for those that aren't up there, in case we get somebody else in the office that is not there, you can just pull it out of the box.
Okay, no.
Oh my. I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I think it's 183.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
What's up, Angela?
Hey, how are you?
Very good.
I called Y'all left a message for her. She asked me to respond.
I know that match right there and yellow, very nice color.
I'll try again
We'll
today.
see when it gets on top of her new.
Yeah, you know, it's just a contract.
Sure, no worries on that.
It's just a paycheck.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Who brought flowers for me? Come on. I love it. Good morning, how are you? Good morning, everybody. Somebody tell me some good news. Where are your mamas and dads? What's the good news today?
That's what we were just talking about.
He's back to school.
Kids are back in school. Yeah.
Those that are smiling didn't have kids on school.
Roger Becker.
I'm looking for grandchildren, I know, I'm like.
I had my grandsons here for 5 weeks this summer. Took them back Sunday, and I missed them, but I'm so happy to be back in the house. Being with 13-year-olds is an adventure. We'll leave that right there. Who knows about being with 13-year-olds?
Yes.
You got it's an adventure, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's an adventure, really. So anyway, welcome.
Thank goodness they turned 14.
I'm not sure that's a thing good. I think it's better when they turn 19.
In 19.
Or 18 one day, right? Anything else you want me to talk about, guys? Any other good news?
Yes, I have a visitor.
Tell me about it.
D. Scott is here.
What is your
Why
visit?
don't you introduce her? I'm okay with that.
Okay, so this is the first time we're meeting in person. Yeah, so I get to see her every morning on the pivot shift call, which I invited her to about
It was like October last year.
October last year. And so I finally get to meet her in person. And it's wonderful. Yeah. So welcome to a little family.
Thank you.
Not be on your best behavior. No, just carry on.
Can I tell y'all something? Don't start doing this stuff. Okay, don't start. Please don't start. Okay. Promise you won't tell her. Okay. I've been pursuing her to get into this office for 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, she just didn't know I was doing anything. Were you aware, Dee? Oh, good. Good. So, Dee, tell them how we met and who you're with right now.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's great to see all of you. I've gotten to meet some of the team here.
And she just got.
I just got married, yes. Jim and I met because I was going through the Atlanta Realtors Association Leadership Academy, and he was assigned as my mentor. And we met and fulfilled the requirements and developed a friendship from there. And mentorship, honestly.
For both ways.
Yes. So I'm just excited to be here and learn more about the team. So thank you all for welcoming me today.
Awesome. How long did you get this morning?
An hour.
First day of school, she picked to come here the first time. First day of school. That'll get better. Exactly, that'll get better. So anyway, guys, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead with our program. What's next? Partners. Thomas and Brown. Now, you Thomas or you Brown?
Well, that's a great question. I am the green of the logo. Subliminal. It's our subliminal message. Good morning, guys. I'm Carrie Green with Thomas and Brown. It is funny if I ever go somewhere with Mark and we're like checking in and they'll be like, brown, green, like, what? I'm like, no, 2 different colors. 2 different
2 different rooms.
2 different, right. Exactly.
Most importantly, 2 different rooms.
Right. So we have a couple of things coming up. Well, first, if I've not had a chance to meet you, we are the closing attorney affiliate partner here, and we have offices here downstairs. We have one in Woodstock, we have Galleria, Alpharetta, Buckhead, Blue Ridge, West Ave, and Cartersville. So we're all over for you guys. We have a couple of things coming up. On the 10th, we have a C class. Let's get ethical. We're gonna make it fun because code of ethics can be fun, but it can be a little, since it's required, it's like one of those where you're gonna like, okay, before we get through this, but we make it fun. So 10 to 1 CE credits, of course we'll have lunch, and we're gonna go over all the things that you need to know, and it does meet all the required, like in our, whatever their annual requirement is for that. And then if you're going to mega camp, which is in 2 weeks, actually 14 days from today is our event, or yeah, 14 days.
Over 2 weeks.
Yes, so which is crazy, I feel like we were just there. Anyway, at the W Hotel, we're gonna have our event, and if you guys have been to an event with us at any of the trips, we invite all the, or not all of them, but all of our partner KW offices, so there will be a lot of, KW people there to interact with and mingle.
That's Monday night?
It is Monday night, and then Tuesday will be the Rawls dinner, so y'all have something to do, but so fun. But, we look forward to seeing you guys later.
Thank you, Karen. We always love having you as our partner here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And next we have. Reed's up next.
The Danielle Dolinky Show.
Let's see if he'll let you talk, Danielle.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Delinky with Silverton Mortgage. Nice to see you. Happy first day of school for those who have kids that have gone back today. We have a raffle coming up, or going on right now for season tickets for the Falcons. They're very good seats, 2 tickets. It costs $100. The due date is August 11th, and the proceeds support our Silverton Foundation. So if you guys are interested, we encourage you to get a ticket. I think there's only how many left?
About 100, 110, I think, last I checked.
Yeah.
They're only selling about 240 tickets, I think it is, or 250. And so that's $25,000 going to the Silverton Foundation. One of the people on the executive team about 8 years ago donated. Him and his dad had season tickets. They donated 2 season tickets for this every year, and they have Freddie the Falcon come to the Silverton office downtown to do the drawing and all that stuff. Which I don't know how you do that with a big ring. But anyway, maybe it's rigged. Anyway, it can't be rigged. I haven't won it yet. So anyway.
And we had an email blast go out about it, and it's also on the Quan Facebook page if you're interested.
Yep.
And you all need to do this, number one, for the foundation, most importantly. Number two, if you get these tickets for $100, you can give them to your clients for the whole season, because it is a great, it's better than trying the lottery. This is a chance of winning.
Is your odds greater?
I think it's section 247, row 1 or something like that. They're good seats.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question. Think about the first house that you bought. Some of you're having to go way back down the annals of history. Jim, that was back when they were mud huts and things like that. That's okay. Is that the first time I've ever cracked on Jim in 12 years?
We'll miss you.
But think about, okay, when you bought your first house, was it considered a starter home?
Yes.
What was the price?
$43,000.
44,900. What?
44,900. Brand new 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo over in Stone Mountain. Fabulous.
Don't you wish you still had it?
Oh yeah. God, yes.
I got one for 19.9, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Wow.
19.9.
Was that the year or the price?
45.
45,000.
Like 31 years ago. I already sold it. So, true story, yesterday, my out-of-state absentee owner closed on a home that he bought during the great crash of 2008-9. He bought it for $8,200. It was a shell of a thing. We sold it yesterday for $120,000.
What's the percentage of increase there?
Oh my God, I can't even calculate that. It's nuts.
So yesterday, by the way, let me give you a suggestion. There's a resource, Jim looks at it and I do too. It's called Housing Wire. Many of y'all, some of you may look at it. And you'll get an email in your inbox. I think it's weekly. There's lots of good articles in there about trends in the business, research, different things like that. There's actually some good articles I was looking at again this morning. Jim saw one yesterday, and it talked about the average cost of a starter home nationwide. Now, guys, honestly, anytime I see that word nationwide at the end of anything about housing, it's almost like I have to throw it out the window.
Exactly.
Because a starter home in San Francisco, even as beleaguered as San Francisco is right now, is still $900,000,
Yes.
right? It's somebody's closet probably. And then in other parts of the country, you can still get a house for, you know, $150,000, $170,000. In my hometown, where I come from, it's a country song, by the way, in South Georgia, you still buy a house for $120,000 all day long. There's just nowhere to work. So, you know, it's a two-edged sword. So the average cost of a starter home nationwide, Jim, do you remember the number? $243,000. Now, what is the average cost of a starter home in your market right now where you're working?
$455.
So the statistic doesn't mean much. However, it's interesting because it said in the article that you needed an income of $64,500 a year to afford that home. And that's cool. Now I did a little math, and now this is an ideal scenario. So in our here, $64,500 with excellent credit, if that was your income, if you had 3% for a down payment, you had no other debt. That's probably the killer right there. You're not gonna lose anything else I say after that.
Right.
Somebody could afford, they could qualify for a house, a single family residence at $320,000.
With no credit lines? When you say no debt?
They have no outstanding debt. They have their car's paid off, there's no student loans, things like that. Now, so think about it. If you think about this, let's say that person had $1,000 in monthly obligations, right? And not zero debt. They owe $1,000 a month on car payments, student loans, different things like that. They need another $12,000, 1,000 times 12 of income on top of 63.5. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $75,000 a year, they could buy a $320,000 house. Well, there are still $320,000 houses out there.
Yeah.
Now, you're not gonna find one of these Cobb, but you start getting out into northern Cherokee, you get out, start going to Paulding, some areas of West Cobb, different places like that, they are out there. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting to sort of share those statistics with you. My first house was, I think, 129, and it was in West Virginia. So you can imagine the great appreciation I had when I sold that one.
It's still 129.
It may be, it may be 119 now. Yeah, so anyway, yes, hey.
I just wanted to point out the price for $320,000 house with $1,000 of debt. The national average income is $58,000. So $58,000 is what the average person is making, and they won't even be able to qualify for 320.
No, absolutely not.
They can't.
No, I'm not making no assumptions about income. I'm just saying it would take about $75,000 worth of income.
And I just want to point out how many people are excluded from being able to purchase because they don't even make 75.
It's a real issue. Yes.
Which is why if you've driven anywhere around Atlanta, they can't build apartment complexes fast enough. It is insane what the multifamily, the prices that investors are paying for multifamily complexes is, I won't even recommend somebody buy one because it's so overpriced. But if you look around apartments, that's why they can't build them fast enough and they're filling them up.
Yep, 100%. I mean, my son and my daughter-in-law and my son both have college degrees. He's got a master's in biology, and they're not buying. Yeah, guys, these are thanks to Miss Heather back there, the lovely and talented Heather Corey. We have some sunscreen for you guys over this last month or so of hot sunshine. You guys enjoy that. And real quickly, by the way, it's good to see Mr. Terry Berger. In case y'all haven't met him, that's Terry Berger. He drops in and graces us with his presence every once in a while. Guys, this is a flower arrangement. My daughter made this. My daughter has a business, and she has a great talent. It's Hawkhill Flowers, and she's actually going to give a little discount if somebody orders, whoever wins this orders another arrangement. So we're going to give this away today.
Yes.
You hear that? You hear that?
Just walk it right over here.
I mean, I was on the way up the stairs.
Just don't even.
My house was $150,000 in 2008.
What you doing? You were eavesdropping in the kitchen? Why don't you go the opposite, the most expensive starter home?
Yeah, but y'all have been flexing then in here and
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like.
No.
What was your most expensive starter home?
Mine was in
Oh.
in San Jose, California.
Oh.
And my parents, who lived in Augusta, Georgia, thought I had lost my mind. And it was $440,000 for a 2-bedroom.
Wow.
Standalone. It was crazy.
So mine was
What year was that?
That was 2003.
So
No,
mine
no.
was more expensive. then.
2001.
All right,
Yeah.
wait a minute,
So
we
mine
started
was in
something here.
mine was in Melbourne in 2003 for 480,000.
Where?
Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, and guys, we're starting to see that now. I mean, we're seeing first-time home buyers
2002.
now buying in the upper
million.
300s, 400s. I have one of those, yeah.
50,000 pesos in Colombia. Let's make the change.
That's about $1 million. On average. All right, who has a birthday close to August 1st? This is the simplest thing to do.
So you have to walk it over here. Walk it right over here. Except it goes to her.
Thanks, guys.
So in 1984, when I got in the real estate business, you're right that I got subdivision, I got second subdivision, those were East Cobb. The price was $125,000 for new homes in East Cobb.
What year was it?
1984, probably 85 or 86 one. And 125,000. One was on Sewell Mill Road, the other one was on Lake Fjord, I think. But anyway, that's how much new home subdivision was back then, which is okay. All right, please welcome Overture Power Ferry, 55 apartment home. Come on over. Come on up.
Great morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
How
As always.
Great morning. My name is Renee Williams. I'm with Greystar Property Management. I must ask you for your forgiveness right away as my counterpart is late with your breakfast from Chick-fil-A. Only because we had it, ordered it for 8:45 this morning and it was not ready. And so he is on his way, so I do
First day of school.
I know.
Chick-fil-A, bless their heart.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. It's the first day. Oh, it's the first day of school. I'm sorry, I'm not in tune with it. My kids live in Seattle, so they don't go to school until after Labor Day. But my grandkids don't go to school until after Labor Day.
You believe she's a grandmother?
4 times.
Yay, let's give her a hand, y'all. Yay!
My grandson will be 20 years old come January. But I am also, right now, I'm working with Greystar Property Management, and I just wanted to share some information with you on our 55 plus platforms. I currently work at Overture Powers Ferry, which is at Powers Ferry in Windy Hill. We are a 55 plus active adult apartments community. We have a few more in our platform, which is Overture Barrett, which is in Kennesaw. We have Overture Buckhead, which is in Buckhead. We have Everlane Duluth, and we have Everlane House Young, which is in Alpharetta, all 55 plus and older. We are, at our place, we provide a lifestyle for the 55 and older. So a lot of our residents are people who have downsized and sold their homes, moved from another state to be closer to their kids, or sold their houses locally to be closer to their kids. Our requirements are really, really simple. You only need to make 1 times the amount of the rent, not 3 times the amount. We don't do a whole lot of checking, bank statements and all that kind of stuff. We make it really, really easy. We have 2 sales consultants at each location, except for our Buckhead location because they are stabilized. We have a lifestyle coordinator at each location. And our lifestyle coordinator curates our calendars, which you will see in some of the folders that I left out. So it just provides a really, really active lifestyle. You can kind of walk away from the whole home ownership and, just like lock the door and go. It's almost like resort style living. Every single day, we have something for our residents. This month, we're gonna do watching the Braves game outside by the pool. We did a whole big, for the 4th of July, we did a whole big seafood boil. So any and everything that we have at the location on site is all free for our residents. Anything, like if we go for a day out or something like that, our residents do pay for that. For you as realtors, we do have a realtor referral fee. It is equal to 1 month's rent, which is really good because we are kind of, you know, priced up there a little bit. So if you refer someone to one of our 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, you're looking at about $3,700, just depending on which location you're going to. Any questions? It's a all of our properties are really beautiful. It's almost like you are living at a resort. You really do not have to leave. We have movie theater, we have yoga room, we have a fitness room, we have what's called a wine room. We do.
Wait a minute, tell me one more time.
Well,
I like to refer Jim Alexander.
Our Barrett location has a salon. We don't have a salon. Let me make sure, we're not senior housing like assisted living. So we don't have like memory care or transportation or anything like that. We are really just like conventional apartments, just with the 55 and older, you know, age requirement.
Yeah.
What's the average age in the East Cowboy?
So over where I am at Overton Palos Ferry, we're about 68. We have 172 apartment homes. Our other locations are about the same. My Barrett location age group is probably a little bit older. They're probably around that 75 age group, but still very, very active. And we would love to invite any of you, all of you out to any of our events. My counterpart is coming with other folders, but inside your folder, you can look at the calendar, and we have events all the time, and we would welcome you to come out and just come and just hang out at one of the events so you can see what it's like for yourself. Another thing that we offer our prospects and our leads is that we have what we call our guest suite. So any of our hot leads or hot prospects, we offer them to come stay in our guest suite for free. It's a complimentary night, and we tend to like to bring them on when we're having a really nice event. Well, he finally is here with your breakfast. Yes.
What is a Mahjong?
Mahjong. That is a game.
It's a game, yep.
It's a
You'll
card
know when
game.
you get older.
You're not ready yet.
You have to ask, you're not old enough again.
So a lot of the things that you see in red, this is my counterpart, Sayon. Sayon and I are the sales consultants at Overture Palos Ferry. He used to be at Overture Buckhead, so he knows a little bit more about Buckhead. But all the things that you see on our calendar that are in red, our residents lead that actual activity. So if we have a resident that, you know, wants to see something on the calendar and they want to lead it, we're more than welcome for that. Anything that you see in black is our lifestyle coordinator, which is Christina, who is at Overture Palos Ferry. She creates this calendar 90 days in advance, and she puts a lot of work into it. So even you can come out for that, so you can see. We actually wanted to put on an event just for you guys, just for realtors. And we were gonna call it Urban.
Ooh,
Yeah.
You don't need anything else. Just put bourbon and food, open at 5.
Would you come to it though?
Yeah, where is it?
It would be at Overture.
We'll plan it, okay?
You would,
We'll plan it.
perfect.
We'll go to Palos Ferry.
We'll be at Overture Palos. We'll call it Bourbon, Realtors, and Referrals.
We'll be there.
You'll be there?
Do you guys provide in the transportation?
Well, I would say.
No, but you have that room for the night.
So the other night we did, last Friday, we did shipping around the world. And it was like 12 different wines, and we had someone to come in and teach us all about the wines and all these different cheeses and, you know,
We come to that too.
charcuterie and all of that. It was amazing. We encourage you to Uber on the nights that we're giving out a lot of alcohol. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a restaurant or are there meal plans they can opt into?
We don't have a restaurant on site. We don't, but how do you wanna answer? Cause Christina is we're always feeding them. You're always feeding them in prep.
So one of the things that we do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays,
Yes.
we do a complimentary continental breakfast, and it's a way for the new residents get to meet the existing resident, what activities we have going on, because Overton Powers Ferry is actually an active adult community where the meal plan and everything else would be with the independent as the next level. So besides that, we'll do what do you call it? We do excursions to different restaurants, Rays on the River, Papacitos, Papados, they go to Alpharetta to do events. So whereas on site, we don't have an actual meal plan, these are some of the stuff that we do it all the time.
Can residents go from your community to another one of your communities? Like you said, one had a salon, one didn't. Can they go over there and use that salon, or?
Oh yes, because the salon is actually is contracted out.
Oh, okay.
So you're free to go, to go in that sense.
But if they're hosting something at one of your
Oh,
other
yes.
locations,
They
can
can
also
always,
attend.
yes,
Yes.
we definitely welcome
Yeah,
that.
we had some of our residents from our Barrett location come down for our seafood boil. I think we had a couple people from Buckhead come over for our seafood boil. So, I mean, they can share, come over, stay, all that. We do not mind at all. But I do encourage you, I know we only have 5 minutes, I do encourage you to please stop by. Take a look. We're there every day, Monday through Friday. We're open on the weekends. So if you ever want to come in and just tour, so you can see for yourself to be able to share with one of your clients, please do so.
We'll work with Kimberly and we'll find a date for us to come and have
Yeah.
bourbon and wine and.
Yes, yes, we would love it.
We're gonna book that free room.
Oh, yeah, I have one quick question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
oftentimes we're selling a house out from somebody. Is there any short-term rental in your community?
No, ma'am, the least amount of time is 12 months.
Okay, thank
We
you.
do have 12 to 14 months, but we don't do anything less than that. Any other questions for us?
And he got here with breakfast on a school day, the first day. Let's give him a hand.
Where are you?
She's like, where are you? Behind the school bus.
Exactly right.
I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yes, what are the qualifications for people to be approved for the rent?
1 times the amount of the rent, so if the apartment is $19.89, they need to make at least $19.89. It's 1 times the amount. We do a soft credit pull, minimum credit score of 500. And acceptable background
Okay,
check. So it's really, it's not like the conventional where you need to make 3 times the amount. You know, we don't ask for any documentation. It's really just kind of like on the honesty system. We just, and so, and the great thing about it is, what we found at Overture is that it is, a lot of our people love it for the socialization. They get away from the whole isolation of owning a home. But my cards are in the folders. Sayon has some folders with his card in it. Please give us a call if you have any questions, and I would definitely be giving them to Kimberly.
What did you call the extra folder?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have
it.
He has the rest.
Yeah, right.
Thank you so
Give him a
much.
hand, you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Y4C2Ts. Okay, this is the way that we live, this is the way that our culture is. D'Angela, tell me which one is your favorite one today. Tell us, Dee.
I would say integrity, do the right thing.
All right, why that one, Dee?
Just because, realtors have a reputation that might not always be the best amongst each other and the public. So if we are all doing our part, then we can change it 1%.
One of my best buddies is an attorney, he called me a real estate agent.
Oh.
From an attorney. I deserve it, we've been friends for a long time. Script Mastermind.
Each Wednesday, and this has grown, we had 8, 10 people there last Wednesday, new faces. We're going over not only scripts, but how to have conversations. So last week we talked about, everyone's like, I have to have a real estate conversation. We have to have a real estate conversation. No, you don't. You have to have a conversation that may lead to a real estate conversation. Because if you're just having real estate conversations, You know, it's like, you know, I get calls from the guy at Northwestern Mutual, and I know exactly why he's calling, right? So have conversations, deep conversations that move into possibly a real estate conversation. So I highly encourage you to come on Wednesday. It's awesome. I love doing it, and people are getting some good benefit out of it. So
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for doing that, Rob. People are enjoying it. I like Ignite is going on right now, guys. Now, you know, I still amazed people go, well, Jim, that's for new agents. No, it's for anybody who needs to sharpen their skills. If you've not done a listing presentation in a long time, you may want to sharpen your skills. If your buyer consultation is not what we think should be needed. So guys, this is going on for the next, how many weeks? In the month. So guys, please come one of these. Just plug in because it is great. It's not me teaching how to get a listing. It's someone that actually gets listings teaching it, guys. So please show up. I think you will love being a part of Ignite. Ignite your business. All right, I can see this one kind of right on. All right, so productivity. Agents want to have leads to call and be in an environment to win. If you'd like to do this, come on and lead generate. Please text Courtney if you'd like to participate in this. I think she's about at capacity, guys. And we're working on a couple other things. I've talked to Paige Morgan to see if she can do something similar with how to host open houses, because that's going to be coming up soon when we get more listings. So guys, I love doing all this. If you're not as pregnant as you want to be, please join this, and it's for free. 6 steps to convert more leads. Kelly is doing this Thursday, August the 3rd, guys. Please do this. Please come to this. She is good at converting leads, is what she's doing. She's doing this as a service to our office. It's going to be here. Please show up. It's in person only. You cannot get on Zoom. She wants to teach you herself. So thank you, Kelly, for doing that. Mega Agent Camp, guys, you just still got looked yesterday, and their flights are about $325. Direct flights, not ones where you go to Chicago and wait for 3 hours, but direct flights. Hotel rooms about a couple $100. You actually can go for one night and stay one night and get most of Mega Camp in, which I think is the night of the 15th. But please, if you can do this, guys, you will not believe at the energy there of what you'll come back, and you may even pick up a lead, which would be great. So anyway, this is still going on. Lessons learned, Rob.
And if you like Mega Camp, there's a lot of people selling their tickets at a discount now because it's so close on Facebook.
Yeah. Awesome. So it amazes me. I've been in this business, let's see, when I first got out of college, my dad made me crawl under houses and over houses as I called, my name was Manuel Labor, and doing home inspections from them. So I literally learned the business from the ground up, between that, loans, and real estate. I learned something every day that I didn't know. And so here's one. How many have done new construction with a one-off builder recently? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 20 people, 21 people online right now, right, watching. So hello, everybody online. Thank you for tuning in. So I got a call on Saturday, and this was the question. In the GAR Builders contract, the question was, there's a line that says there's arbitration, okay? And it's blank. Who's the arbitrator? I got that question. They called me and said, who do I put in there? I was like, let me look that up, right? So I look at the contract, I'm like, not Quan, because we don't arbitrate. It's not Thomas and Brown, they don't arbitrate. And this particular builder does a lot of one-offs, so I was calling. So what did I do, right? I don't know. I don't have to question the answers to everything. I reached out to Paige, right? And between Paige getting back to me and everything, I got the answer, right? And my first inkling was, well, does the other agent work with this builder often? And the agent in our office says, yeah. I'm like, how? That's exactly what I said. I said, why don't you call her and ask her what she wants you to write in there? Because you don't know what to put in there. I don't know what to put in there. And so between Sherry and I, we said, one of two things. Call the other person. It is a co-op together. Is that a tough question to call someone else on?
No.
Right? So, or do you leave it blank?
No.
No. Do you put something wrong in there like Keller Williams, Atlanta North?
No. All agree.
So we had one answer. Call them or find an arbitration company. That's what I was calling you about to say, who have you used in the past for arbitration?
We had a company come and speak to us about 3 months ago that does arbitration, and they do arbitration for children, for divorces, and they also do contract arbitration.
Okay. So we don't have, so that's the beauty of this office, right? So as soon as something came up like that, I said, I know who's done a lot of them, because Paige was one of the first in Indian Hills way back when, right? That said, I remember I was playing golf out there. I'd be like, who is gonna buy $1 million house in here? This is crazy. That's gonna sit forever. And all of a sudden, that whole neighborhood has been infilled with all these, I won't call one-off builders, but there's builders that are doing 3 or 4 here or 1 here or whatever. So I was like, I know who to call. So that's what's so great about this office. I don't have all the answers.
You didn't call me, and I have no arbitrator in this office. Dennis O'Reilly.
I did not know that. See, I learned something again today.
Wow.
He just became arbitrator about a year or 2 ago, so actually he can do it. You should have called me. That's one of the questions.
I didn't think he knew anything, so I had to call. I called Sherry.
He says, what's your contract say about this? I have to look, I have to read the contract, which I told you guys to do. It'd be great. So, anyway, guys, very quickly, and I'm getting my area up here. So this week, what we're doing here, and I didn't ask permission to do this. I'm not gonna do this. Asked me to intercede for them because we had a buyer that was buying one of our listings all cash, and they terminated the contract unilaterally, and they didn't have the right to do that. And the reason they terminated, they said the buyer could not provide good earnest money. Does the buyer have a right to terminate if the buyer cannot provide good earnest money? No. Who has the right to do that?
Seller.
Interestingly enough, this little tiny company of 2 agents tried to challenge me on what the contract said, which I found very interesting, because they said they had 1 day to deliver good funds. Well, actually, the contract said they had 3 days. Neither one of them had any clues what it actually said. And I went, really? And so we demanded the earnest money. Why did we do that? Because our seller wanted us to, even though there's no good earnest money. And he says, you have no clue what you're doing. You cannot ask for earnest money. Well, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And he says, you need to go back to school and learn how to read contracts.
Throwing it down.
Jim loved that.
Oh, no, I was like, what? So I kept going, well, if it says in the contract, can you show me where it says that? And he kept trying to argue with him, convincing, I mean, respectfully, I think I know a reasonable amount of the stuff about real estate. Y'all agree with that? You have to read between the lines. I get that pretty well on me. And this worker kept arguing with me. I go, but the contract does not say that. So guys, the reason why I bring that up, when you guys are doing contracts, just realize the person on the side may have no clue what's going on. And they have no clue at all. And I had fun. I was very respectful. I never disrespected anybody, even if they are clueless. So I was very respectful, but he was not being respectful back to me. So I finally pointed out 3 times he had made 3 mistakes. Guess what? He went silent. So what do I tell you that, guys? Be careful who you get in business with, particularly small companies, and not disrespectful of that have no clue what the contract says. Because you guys are well versed in it. Y'all know it really, really well because you do what every day? Teach it, right? So that made me smile, and I had fun doing it because I've been thinking, this guy has no clue what he's talking about. And he kept arguing with me. He's arguing with me. I'm proud. I'm sorry. Right, Terry Berger.
Did you get her?
So guys, one of the things that we talk about a lot is growing wealth in this office. Because my goal for you is to be productive, but also to grow wealth. When I came here 12 years ago, my eyes had to be opened because I had some money, but not enough to really retire. So because of Keller Williams, it opened my eyes to lots of possibilities, including having multiple rental houses, and I had no idea that I could use this old 401k that was sitting in an account and making no money at all, that I could use that and basically use that to be a down payment for rental houses. So I've learned a little bit since then, and we've gone now to, I think we have, I've got 11 houses, and we want to grow even more than that. And that's happened since I turned 59 years old.
I was gonna say.
59 years old, guys. So how many people here are older than 59? Don't hold your hands up. Don't hold your hands up. No, you can't hold your hands up. But anyway, guys, so guys, you can build wealth at any point, but you have to start focusing on it. So Terry, I'm gonna turn it over to you. By the way, this is one of my agents that sort of comes around once in a while. And I love it when he comes around because Terry got out of the retail business how many years ago, Terry?
Maybe 7 or 8 years ago.
All right, so Terry, tell us just a little bit about that. So you're selling, you came here from Remax how many years ago?
I don't know, it took you a couple years.
A couple years of that, again.
Yeah, so I came from Remax.
The day you say, I don't give up, that's exactly right, Jeff. But anyway, you came here and had a thriving business, and then you decided to go into a different direction. Tell them what you went into. Good guys buying houses?
Nice guys buying houses.
Nice guys, exactly right, Jeff.
So, okay, yeah, real quick story. I think Paige was in this office at that time, right? And Paige was kind of my hero. In the recession, I pivoted from West Cobb to East Cobb because I noticed that in the Great Recession, there were more people, East Cobb seemed to be a more stable market than West Cobb at the time. And so I started moving more and more stuff over here. I'm a very pragmatic kind of guy. I wanted a higher sales price so that my commissions were higher, so I didn't have to work as hard, didn't have to sell as many houses, right? So I think I was an individual agent doing about, I don't know, 60, 70 deals a year. And then came over here with Jim and in the recession, my story is my kids were little and the market started to heat up again. And I'm not a very good delegator. I like to kind of keep a lot of control. And so when you like to keep a lot of control and you don't delegate, you get burned out pretty quickly. Anybody like that in the room? And so I was like, there's got to be another way. I was getting, the market crashed. I was working my way back to 40, 50, 60, 70 homes again a year. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not a very social guy. I'm great like this. But one-on-one, if it's not a conversation I'm interested in, I'm trying to figure out the fastest way to leave it, which is probably some weird neuroses thing I probably need to seek counseling for, but I'm me. Like, I think the older you get, the more you start to realize this is who I am. And so I wasn't the typical prototype salesperson. I just wanted to win at whatever I did.
And I see what his first job was out of college.
I was a middle school band director. And even when I was a middle school band director, I wanted to kick everybody else's ass. So that has just always been in me, that competitive like nature. And so I've enjoyed every job I've ever had, but all those jobs are always focused on winning. Now, I have learned to come to grips with some of that as I get a little bit older because the drive is not as strong to win. It's more to give back and help and do all those things. So that help answer your question? And so Jim and I really created this really cool bond. We'll talk maybe once a month, every couple of months. But my favorite things about Jim is just popping into his office. He's like, hey, sit down a minute. And we have like this super deep 7 to 10 minute conversation. And then, okay, great, he's good, I'm good. And then we wait till the next couple of months. That's what's been really cool. John Ellinger was a humongous influence on me when I first came to this office because John had developed a real estate portfolio from the time he was pretty young. And now John's got more cash flow than he knows what to do with. He can go do whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it. He can help a client buy $1 million house. He can help a client buy a $300,000 house. He can do whatever he wants to do because he had cash flow. And I was kind of a baby investor when I came into this office. And the reason I stay here, I don't sell houses anymore. I stay here because I love to get the call from Jim saying, hey, come talk to the office. And I love to support the office in whatever way I can. So Jim and I were trying to come up with this title, like, hey, how do we get people here today and to tune in online? And I was like, so I just threw out this title, Rents, Rates, and the Airbnb Apocalypse, right? They're kind of not really related, but they are kind of related, and I kind of want to go through some things, because Gary Keller teaches you guys to invest, right? In fact, who's this guy that they brought on to kind of go out around and teach? What's his name?
Brent.
Brent, right? So he's kind of he's a big investor, and so now there's this real big push to get agents to create their own pension by investing, right? And so let's talk about that. So we have these forces. Let's see if this is gonna work for me. No, there it is. We have these forces at work in the real estate market right now. What are they?
Interest rates.
Interest rates, right?
Scarcity, supply.
Supply, so you got the two big ones, right? So, oh, this was my joke for the day today. Did you guys see this?
No, what is
this? Canadian realtor was fined $15,000 for drinking milk out of a jug at an open house. Putting it back in the fridge. Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome. That's expensive.
So rates, we talked about, here's a scenario, right? I mean, you've seen this a million times, but a 3.75% and a 7% rate, the difference. My question, and I like to learn from you guys, because I don't have people in my car and showing houses all the time, is, and my fonts, probably you design this stuff in Canva with their cool fonts, it doesn't translate when you put it on your computer, but $600,000 house, is that the same buyer? Like, are those the same people getting in your car, Libby? The one that bought a $600,000 house 18 months ago, 3.75% versus 7%.
No, a lot of the buyers right now, honestly, they're moving because they have to. You know, they're coming from out of state, or they're renters that, you know, it's like they're not, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, it was let's move up and get more space because it's fun and I can. Those people aren't moving right now.
It's the have-tos.
It's the have-tos.
Okay. And do you feel like there's any waterfalling taking place? Anybody else? Like, when I say waterfall, so let's say they were an $850,000 buyer when the rates were 3.25, 3.75, and they're like 600 now. Is that happening? Some? Or not really? It's just have-tos.
They're just not really.
They're just not moving.
They're just not moving. I'm not. Yeah, and that's the problem, right? Is we'll talk about the interest rate breakdown here in a second. Banks are another big one. Are you guys aware of what's happening in the commercial office space right now? So remember 2009, those of you who were around 2009, there's like a commercial real estate apocalypse happening in the office space. Class A office space in Manhattan, Atlanta, big, huge cities are having issues. Steven Schwarzman, who's the founder of Blackstone, literally just did a strategic foreclosure on one of their buildings, give it back to the bank, right? Now, they gave it back to the bank said, yeah, we'll take it back. Why? Why would they do that?
Equity.
He's got a relationship with this bank. They do so many deals with this bank. Basically said, look, I need you to take this one back. And they took it back because he's got a relationship with that particular bank. And he does so much volume with it. It's more of a relational deal. But the banks are in distress and because of commercial real estate. And it will, at some point, there's bleed over into, don't you think, Reed, like there's some bleed over into the residential markets. And so you can't, people have been trying to bring people back to the office for, I don't know, a year. There's this constant, like World War III employer versus employee. I'm not coming back to the office. I'm not coming back to the office. And I thought the employer was going to win. I really did. But there's still a lot of jobs available out there. And so right now the employee is winning. When will the employer start to win? I don't know. Maybe when we slip into some sort of recession, when people need jobs more than they need to figure out where they want to, if they can do laundry while they're doing their job, right? So we created this whole pandemic thing. It's like changed our world to some degree. Oh my gosh, seriously. Deals won't pencil. You can't get things to pencil. How many people try to buy rental property lately? Anybody in the room? Like, it's really hard to make it pencil. I'm gonna tell you two quick stories. So we had a $3 million hotel under contract in Dahlonega, Georgia, a little baby hotel. Some of you guys, if you've ever been to Dahlonega, you know what it is. That's 20 on Park or something like that. Cute little place, 20 rooms, and they wanted $3 million for it. Well, if you don't know anything about me, my wife and I bought this big hospitality lodge in Helen, Georgia, with some silent partners from our house flipping business. And anyway, we have 20,000 square feet up in Helen. We do corporate retreats and agent team retreats, stuff like that. And we host people up there. It's really kind of a cool thing. Well, our daughter, part of our long-term plans to move to Northeast Georgia, so we wanted like a compatible property in a walkable area. So we put this place under contract in Dahlonega. Well, I couldn't get it to pencil. I couldn't get it to make money. So when you can't get it to make money, should you buy it? No, you probably shouldn't buy it. So we walked on that deal. Then I put a $6.8 million apartment contract. First of all, I don't have $6.8 million, don't think I do. I have to reach out to people that have some money to help me with that, but $6.8 million apartment contract in Helen, Georgia. I know that market really well now. So Helen, Georgia, there are these duplex townhomes. You ever see those? They look like townhomes, but they're duplexes. And so I had this great idea. There's 40 of them. What's 6.8 divided by 40? It's like 175,000 or something like that, right? So we were gonna buy them at $175,000 a piece. With the rates, it wouldn't pencil out to make money. But I knew that. I wanted to do something different with it. I wanted to create a market with those 40 units. There's nothing in Helen, Georgia really worth anything under $300,000. So I was gonna break these little duplexes off and call them townhomes, and now you have townhomes for $250,000 to $275,000. Well, what's the math on 275 times 40? What is that? About, I don't know, 10 or $11 million, right? So what's $11 million minus $6.8 million? 4 million, right? After you pay commissions, after you pay carrying costs and interest rates and banks, there's probably $1.5 million to be made there. Except I couldn't get a bank to believe my idea. They were like, it loses money every month. I'm like, I know it loses money every month. Like, we've accounted for the fact that it loses money every month. They're like, well, you need to bring in more investors. You need to put in more money. You need to put half down as opposed to 20% down or 30% down. And I didn't want to bring in $3.4 million and put it in what position on the real estate? Second, if I'm lucky. The bank might not even let me put them on second. They would just have to be owners, and I would have to do like what's called real estate syndication or something like that, right? That deal didn't pencil out. So you're finding it really, really hard to pencil out big deals and small deals. Okay? Is this good, right? The reason I'm doing this right now. I am 54 years old now, so technology is maybe still. Home sales. This is the home sales from Redfin. Redfin data. You guys use this in your listing appointments? You should. It's like super fast. This is Atlanta Metro only, so you can pull up all this really cool stats. It's just Google Redfin data and it will show up. I call this the real estate heartbeat. You guys have heard me talk about this before, right? And real estate heartbeat talks about the home sales, and you can obviously see over in here what's happening current day. And that's the real estate heartbeat. Let's see the next one. There's 3 slides in here. This is the number of new listings. Same kind of heartbeat, right? Seasonality, that's the peak and the valleys. It never changes hardly, except during a pandemic, and it'll change a little bit, right? But you notice what's happening here is this is 2016, 2017. If you took a ruler and went a straight edge all the way across, right? What is happening to inventory since 2017? Decline. And somebody who's been in this business a long time, tell me, when did we start having an inventory crisis before anybody talked about it?
17, 16.
Anybody want to take another guess?
16,
16 or 17? What do you think, Paige?
Well, I mean, you can talk about an inventory crisis either way. I mean, we had way too much inventory in 2010.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I heard us talking about inventory crisis, and that's what it was, because we had way too much.
What wasn't happening in 2010?
Was that we did not have banks that were willing to lend money, and they owned too much property, and they could not lend money to people without overextending themselves, and banks were not loaning money to banks.
In 2010, banks weren't lending to one particular type of person. Who was it? Self-employed. I mean, yes and no, yes. Builders, right?
We're 11 years behind.
Mm-hmm.
Today, the Metro Atlanta area is 11 years behind in our building inventory. And that's, I mean, people think of building is only what we see in East Cobb, but if we don't get building in Metro Atlanta, in Cherokee County, in Paulding County, in West Cobb, and all of those other areas that is somewhat affordable housing, we're never gonna catch up with the inventory crisis.
Right. And so to your point then, right, inventory scarcity, that's why the prices have pretty much remained where they are, or even gone up in some areas, is because we have the low inventory. How many people remember Metro Brokers used to have a giant billboard on 75,
Yeah.
and when it hit 100,000 homes for sale, I think they combined Georgia MLS and FMLS, but it wasn't really truly 100, but they combined them, and every day you would go down. It was a brilliant piece of marketing, and you saw Metro Brokers logo and the number every single day. And but even in 04, when I was selling real estate, there was still an inventory crisis of homes that people wanted to buy. If you were selling real estate in 2004, you would take a client, look at 20 houses. How many of them were worth buying, in your opinion? 2 to 4, right? So, and the crap, the leftover, was just sat there and it just expired and kept expiring until they fixed it up. Or an investor, you actually find it a deal, a rental property deal, because you could do value add to things back then because there was so much inventory. All right, let's go one more slide here. This is really interesting. This is all homes for sale, Metro Atlanta still. And look at the bite of the apple that got taken out of the inventory here, right? And in this trough, okay, same thing. What happened in this trough? Not only was there no inventory, right? People weren't listing their houses for sale because of COVID. What else was happening?
You can't see the timeline on that?
This is 2020 to 2022, right in here. This is the pandemic. I call it the bite of the apple out of inventory. What else was happening? Low interest rates, refis, right? So now all of a sudden, normally what would happen if you saw a bite out of the apple, you would see something take its place over here, right? Pent up demand, that kind of stuff. But we've created this, I don't want to sell my house because I've got a 3% interest rate, and now rates are 7%, and we still haven't too many buyers. So this never readjusted, and I don't know when it does readjust, but it hasn't readjusted. And if you look back, if you take a straight edge, I mean, this is 2012, take a straight edge all the way over, all homes for sale continue to decline for about 6 or 7 years. To your point, 16, 17, you've got, and then you take this big chunk out, and which is the reason that the rates are staying where they are today. Okay, we have a tug of war. And I want to go a little deeper into this really quick. So you have a tug of war between people that need leverage to invest or buy. You can put it in a real estate retail term too, or don't need leverage to invest. And so I want to talk to you about these forces that are out in the real estate markets today. So who needs leverage to invest or buy? First-time home buyers, who else? Investors trying to buy rental property that need banks to help them, right? They've got down payments. What else?
Anybody who doesn't have the cash.
Anybody who doesn't have what?
The cash.
The cash. Yeah, that's a great one. Anybody who just doesn't have the cash to go take it down needs leverage to invest, okay? Over here, who doesn't need leverage to invest?
BlackRock.
Cash buyer, what else? Hedge funds.
Institutional buyers.
Institutional buyers. Anybody else?
Maybe even creative financiers. At least they would cash.
Okay, 1031 exchange money. So the hotel deal I told you about, I called her and I'm like, Amy, I can't get this to pencil. This deal will not pencil. She's like, I know it won't. And commercial realtor, right? She knows it won't pencil. She said, here are the people that are calling me about this deal. One guy sold his company for a bunch of money, millions and millions of dollars, and he and his wife just want to be a hotelier as a hobby. So do they want to make money? They haven't made their money. They're going to go into Dahlonega, live in a small little town, get to know everybody, because that's fun for them. As an investor, that's not fun for me. Like, it's fun if I'm making money, and it's still fun, right? So that, let's see, second person that called her. 1031 exchange money. Somebody sold a big building, they've got $3 million in cash to invest, and they either pay how much of $3 million are you going to pay the government in taxes, do you think? $600,000-$700,000 maybe, right? So they can either pay the government that money, or they can put it into a losing proposition and only bleed a little bit of loss every month, right? While they get this hotel off the ground, but it's a place to stash their money without having to pay taxes. And this is what's happening even today. There's still lots of cash out there, would you agree?
Yeah.
So And you're seeing this, I mean, in the retail world, like if this is the house, it's the cash buyer versus the non-cash buyer a lot of times, right? And so, and then a lot of you are struggling, how do I get my non-cash buyer to beat the cash buyer, you know, and do all those kinds of things, and you're kind of going through all the real estate acrobatics to make all this stuff happen. But the forces at work in your world also are the same forces at work as you're trying to invest in a property. So then the question then becomes really, you know, how do we as agents and investors, right? If you're really serious about owning property, creating your own pension someday, like how do you do that in an environment like this? Well, this was the 1031 exchange example. You guys have, anybody, you may not have bought a G-Wagon, but how many of you bought the SUV? Right, the SUV under the 10729 exemption or whatever.
Everybody did.
Everybody, right? Why did you buy it? Because you can either pay the government $50,000 or you could go buy a new Lexus or whatever that meets the requirements, and it's pretty much a dollar for dollar cash rebate. You get the car.
But you get to drive it.
And have fun in it, exactly, right?
Especially if you drive an electric BMW.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So you have to pivot.
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're young and you got this, so that makes me feel good. So you have to pivot, as Ross Geller would say in the show Friends, and how do we pivot? Okay, well, what about Airbnbs? Because if we're gonna try to buy something to make money, we have to find higher margins, right? If we're gonna buy it at the price that we are at. So let's say you gotta go pay retail for something, it won't make sense from a rental perspective, but it might make sense for an Airbnb. I don't know, right? But Dallas literally just kicked out all Airbnbs and short-term rentals, the city of Dallas, just like that. Even if you had a rental permit, it's gone.
So did Blue Ridge.
Blue Ridge?
City of
Blue Ridge. So you can't have a short-term rental?
Oh, it's so crazy. I mean, if you're on this side of the street, you can, but if you're on this side of the street with your hand up, you can't.
So,
I mean, you literally have to go to school to find out which central business district versus city you can have Airbnbs.
if you are going to invest in an Airbnb, and we've had several, okay? You need to make sure you understand not only what's the current regulations are, but what is the temperature of the governing bodies of those municipalities. You have to understand.
They are changing.
They do change.
Everywhere.
And the problem is, a tourist town like Blue Ridge doesn't want to be a tourist town. They want to be the Buckhead of the North Georgia mountains. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
I mean, they bring in tourism, sure, but right now, it is the Buckhead of the North Atlanta mountains. That's where people go, right? Now, some people go to Highlands or they go to the North Carolina side. They don't really, Buckhead isn't buying in Helen necessarily, okay?
Correct.
They will be at some point because it's gonna get priced out in Blue Ridge at some point. Just like East Cobb gets priced out for people that buy in West Cobb. Is West Cobb still nice? Yeah, it's nice. It's just not East Cobb. Is Sandy Springs still nice, right? And you do this march outward, and that's exactly what will happen in the mountains as well. I honestly, this is just a shameless plug, I think the mountains are a great place to invest your money right now, because I see a day coming, the 400 corridor, if you haven't been up the 400 corridor lately, from basically coming to Dahlonega, there's nothing but construction happening all through there.
Yeah.
There will be a day, and what else is on the 400 corridor? Google, all these tech companies are based in Alpharetta, right? There'll be a day coming where somebody will commute into the office for 2 days a week, and they're gonna look out at beautiful mountain vistas in White County and Lumpkin County, because they don't have to go into the office every single day. And that will be a metro Atlanta suburb at some point in the future, the mountains.
Lake and mountains.
Huh?
Lake and mountains.
Lake and mountains, yes.
Terry, there's been an argument made though, that whatever you pay for a rental right now may not pencil right now, but in 2 or 3 years it will. In other words, whatever you pay right now is irrelevant. It may not pencil right now.
Yes.
It's like starting a new business. You're gonna lose money in your business the first few years, you know what I mean? But in a few years, that what you pay $300,000 will be worth $400,000, and then it will work. Just tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, my thoughts on that, that's the same argument people were making when they were buying real estate in '06. They were buying on appreciation, they weren't buying on sound fundamentals, right? And you wanna buy on sound fundamentals no matter what market you're in, because you don't have the money to waste. Like somebody normal sitting in this room right now, I don't have money to lose $1,000 a month until it pencils out, and hope that in 3 years, who knows what's gonna happen in 3 years? I mean, let's think about what's going on in the world today. 15 to 20% of the world's grain is being ensnared in a war, right? So we could have massive famine throughout our country. We have, I don't know, maybe the rumblings of some sort of war, another war coming up. I mean, it's some crazy crap going on right now, right? And so I'm very careful to use sound fundamentals when I invest, and I'd be careful. You can't just bank on appreciation because it doesn't always go that well. Okay.
Terry,
yeah.
If I can jump in for a second, I think that your future goals have so much to do with whether or not you're comfortable with a loss every month of $1,000, but how many kids are you getting ready to put through college? Okay, look at that. You can't lose $1,000 a month if you're getting ready to put 2 kids in college, or you're going to retire in the next 4 years. You can't. But if you're 30 years old and you're double income, you have to look. And I think that that's why Gary Keller has done what he's done with starting KW Wealth and starting to teach that. And of course, he will make money at it because he makes money at everything he does. But that's why he's trying to teach us that not everybody can be an investor at the same level that the person sitting next to you is.
Right, and nor should you.
Nor should you.
We talked about this before. If Paige goes on 60 listing appointments, she can probably land 1 or 2 rental properties just by having conversations with people. Why do you want to sell? Your house needs a bunch of updating. Would you be interested in selling it to me? I can't pay you what you want for it, but would you be interested in selling it to me? I can close next month. You don't have any buyers coming through your house. You can move on to North Carolina and be with your grandkids or do whatever the story is. And then she just nailed a property that's got tremendous value add potential, right? If she can buy, fix it up, turn it into a rental, or do whatever, right? If you're going into people's houses, you are the biggest real estate, and you have the biggest advantage over somebody like me. Because I'm not getting called to go into people's houses unless they know I'm gonna buy a house. But you have all kinds of options. I mean, we talked about this the last time, and I don't want to dive into it, but you can be the Mark Spain. You're all Mark Spains out there. Just go and make an offer on a house that you think you might want to own. And you do that as part of your regular job, and you will get 1, and you will get 2, and then you will get 3, and then you'll be up to 11. No matter when you start, that's how you do it. Real quick, on the Airbnb thing, how many people own Airbnbs right now? Anybody? Got 1, 2, 3? Okay, great. Awesome. So again, I like the mountains. You gotta be careful with the mountains because there's a lot of smelly 2-bedroom, 1-bath wood houses that all look the same, right? So here's what I'm gonna teach you. If you're gonna invest in Airbnbs or any other really type of real estate, this is what you wanna have. You wanna have it be different. It has to be unique. It has to stand out. It has to be something completely different. Like our lodge will sleep 60 people. And the reason I knew it was a good deal at $3 million is because you would have to go to Pigeon Forge or Gatlinburg to sleep that many people. Well, guess what Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg don't have? They don't have the Atlanta International Airport just 2 hours away, right? So I knew that we could host corporate retreats and we could bring people in. And so that's exactly what we started marketing to. And we have people from Kimberly-Clark coming up. We have people from Brassfield Gorey coming up, and they're coming up multiple times. So I'm getting to build this business, this corporate retreat center, because it stands out and it's unique, right? Let's take the Barbie example. Hey, Barbie. So if you've seen Barbie, this is from Zillow Gone Wild. Somebody actually had a Zillow, a mid-century Barbie house. Anybody see that? Yeah. That is unique. That Airbnb, obviously during this Barbie kind of craze, that thing would rent like crazy. But it probably rents pretty well when they're not making a feature film about Barbie, right? Because moms will take their kids there, their girls there, or whatever, right? I don't mean to stereotype the gender bias or anything like that, but I mean, I'm not interested in going to this. So, but if my wife and daughter want to go, this would be really a cool thing. Okay? What else does this have? Is that Instagrammability, right? Are people sharing it? That's the cheapest form of marketing out there, is if you can build something unique people share it. There's a place called, anybody been to Bolt Farm up in Chattanooga? It's this really unique, they've got all these little tree houses. They basically bought this thing on Signal Mountain that overlooks the valley. And they've got 10 or 12 houses up there. Gets about $350 a night. They're always sold out. And but it's unique, it's different. So if you're out there and you're trying to invest in something that you can make unique, and it will do better. It always does. Because how many houses, 2 ones in Blue Ridge, can I go rent today? A lot of them, right? So after you stayed in one of those 2 or 3 times, okay, I want to go try something different. What's unique? Is the view unique, right? Is the house unique? What makes it unique? Okay? And that's pretty much it. But from a real estate investment standpoint, the biggest power you guys have, and I said it every time I come here, is you have listing appointments. You go on listing appointments. And if you can make your shift to think, I don't necessarily have to win the listing appointment and put my sign in the yard, which is obviously what you want to have happen, if, first and foremost, you can't buy it and make money, right? So that's the key. Just kind of keep your eyes and ears open. I will tell you, if you don't, I was the only provider in my family. My wife stayed home and raised our kids, and now she works on the lodge with me. And if you're the sole income earner, you're going to have to create a retirement at some point. It's not going to happen for you. And it can be 401ks, it can be all of those kinds of things. It can be all of it. It can be 401ks and real estate and whatever else you're into. It could be investing in a business. Okay, all kinds of things, but you've got to be setting yourself up for the future. Because I would like to retire in 6 years and be done. And I'm far off my goal. My goal is $30,000 a month in passive income. And I think we're at 12 or 14. And I'm jealous of some of you because you go out and you make a whole lot more freaking money than I do in the last 3 years because the market's been hot. But then at the same time, I'm like, if I had to deal with 42 offers, like I think Courtney posted on Facebook, I think I would jump off a building. So I admire you. I have lots of respect for you. You deserve every dime that you make in this business. But I'm here to encourage you. You have to take your blinders off, put the sign in the yard, and see if you can make offers on real estate and make some money at the same time.
So our first rental house was in Sandestin, Florida. Been there before? Beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Gorgeous. And so Carol and I bought our first place down there. We put much money down. I thought we were at $280,000 in Sandestin, Florida. I thought this has got to make money. It has to. So we bought it. We thought the low end, someone always want to be there. What I didn't calculate was the monthly fees tripled. Mm-hmm. I thought, well, that's okay. It's still good value. We had 24-hour gated security. We loved it. I bought it 12 years, had it for 12 years, and we sold it about the same amount of money we bought it for. Mm-hmm. The reason that we didn't sell a lot of money was that people thought, well, if all I can afford is $280,000, I cannot afford those monthly payments of the association. I did not take that into account. So I actually brought a little money to closing. But we had 12 years though of living down there for free though. So we had enough renters that when we went down there, it was free. Was it worth it for that for 12 years? Yeah. 100%. I put my key in the lock, it was worth it. But I made a mistake on that one. I thought I understood it because I'm reasonably bright, you know what I mean? But I didn't make sense. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, you consider today, you can say, well, I'm not gonna take that risk, I'm not gonna take that risk. You don't take any risk, you'll never make it happen ever. It won't happen. You can be safe, but guys, one of these days you're gonna want to stop selling real estate.
Risk is the price you pay for reward.
Exactly right, yes. And buying a rental house right now does not make sense right now. Might it make sense in 5 years? I have no idea. As Terry said, I have no idea. But guys, you gotta get out there and look at enough property out there that when one comes on and you hear about it, you can buy it. If you're not looking right now, it's not gonna happen. It's like you're not lead generating right now, you're gonna get business? No.
There's a campground that we're trying to buy, and she wants $3 million for it, and she's out of her freaking mind. And so it's worth $1 million. It's really what it's worth. And all it is just you watch the things that you wanna watch, like expired listings are great, you know, I know we mark for expired listings to get our signs in the yard. Expired listings are sellers that are extremely motivated to sell, right? And you just, hey, I'd like to make an offer on your house. And just make a low offer, make a number that pencils out for you, and don't worry about making a low offer. I know we hate it when our clients make low offers, I get it. I was in your job for 10 years, and I hated that, it drove me freaking insane, because it's a waste of your time a lot of times, right? And so, but you could go make low offers on expired listings, or maybe you set a tickler up in the MLS stuff that's been on the market 90 days, 91 days, 120 days. As soon as it starts to hit, every day that goes by, they're more motivated to sell, most of the time.
How many of you think that there's no risk in buying a house and keeping it for 10 years? Will the price go up? No. I disagree with you on that. Most likely. I think a 10 years, how much houses are worth? So
Everywhere, no
I
geographic.
think, I'm looking right now, haven't found it yet, I'm looking for some acres for my grandsons, I want to give them acres, if I can give them each 50 acres, that'd be worth something when they're 30 years old. Is that true, guys? I mean, we know that right now, go out and buy some acres, buy in South Georgia, buy it someplace to where.
Anderson, South Carolina.
Anderson, South Carolina, is that right, guys? Go to your hometown, go to my hometown, Marion, Virginia, an average house still sells for $150,000. I own one of those houses.
Commerce, Georgia, like, I don't know if you've been up 85 into like, to Lake Hartwell, but the battery plant, the distribution centers, all that stuff going up there, they gotta have a place to live.
Write this down, if you want to, write it down, if I write it, okay? We are going to run out of property. We are going to run out of property. It's gonna happen, and probably in our children's lifetime, probably, you know, but we're gonna run out of property. And if you own some of that property, think about the people that bought the property where Cumberland Mall is right now. My friend's family used to live there. And they sold it to build Cumberland Mall. Sir, yes, I'm sorry, who's first, hold on a second. Who's first, yes, sir.
I think we all need to realize, and Terry said it so eloquently, is that, you know, everyone knows here, I was in the business in San Jose, California, okay? The Bay Area. There was Oakland and a mountain. There was the bay in the middle and that peninsula from San Jose to San Francisco. And then there was a mountain and an ocean. There was no room left for urban sprawl. There is no natural boundary outside of Atlanta until you hit the Atlantic Ocean or the Mississippi River, okay? So why is it that 15 years ago, Canton was like, oh my God, that's so far away, right? And now you look and you go, well, what about Ball Ground, right? Or what about LJ and Jasper, right? And Blue Ridge. There's, I mean, Russell Barber drives every day from Blue Ridge. Every day.
Manafort does the same thing.
So I think we need to expand our minds, and a lot of people, it's failure to launch. So make it a goal to maybe not buy something this year, but to set up an account, and with accounts now online, you can name the account. So just name the account whatever you want. My first rental, right? Or whatever. But launch something.
What do you think, Terry, about Hiawassee, an area over there?
So I love Hiawassee. So you've got Lake Burton, which is where there's a lot of wealth on Lake Burton, and Raven. Lake Raven is another, that's kind of a Buckhead hangout as well. Which they?
Seed.
Yeah, Seed Lake too, right above that.
Is tremendous.
Yeah.
Because people don't know about it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they think Lake Raven. I drove that last week. I was doing some motorcycling up there, and I drove that whole area, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So Hiawassee, in my opinion, is if you sit in the bowl, the nice thing about Hiawassee is the mountains are all around you.
Yeah.
So not only are you on the lake, but you've got the mountains views too. That's really unique up there. I love Hiawassee. It's just a little bit harder to get to. Just, you know, you gotta drive another half hour, 45 minutes to get up there. But it's more affordable than Lake Blue Ridge right now. So I love Hiawassee.
I'm sorry, Reed, yes, you have something, yes, sir.
Terry, in that Housing Wire magazine that I meant, or, online thing that I mentioned earlier, there's an article today. There was a survey done by Zillow, and it asked like, what percentage of people would put their house on the market if they could get a 5% interest rate? That's an interesting article to read, because that's one thing that'll help, but it's supply and demand is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Interest rates, the only reason interest rates are an issue is because they're hindering supply.
Yeah.
People will buy houses at 7% interest rate, but people aren't gonna sell with 7% interest rate.
And I think that's the magic. As soon as you see a 5 in front of interest rates, it's gonna go bananas again.
So my second question is, and you may not have any answer to this, but you do a lot more research than most of us do. The biggest property owners in Metro Atlanta, for example, are rental companies, correct? What's gonna be the thing that causes them to start divest themselves of some of that inventory and put it on the market?
That's a really good question, and I think it comes down to just a common sense answer, right? We sold 4 of our Airbnbs because we had, I'm just gonna use an imaginary number. We had $150,000 in equity in those Airbnbs, right? And we sold them. So the 4 combined, the 150,000, and it's called return on invested capital, or return on equity, so ROE, return on equity. How much money, this is piggy bank money, right? It's locked in a piggy bank until you sell it. So $150,000, what kind of return on equity would you like to see out of that? Is it 10%? Is it 12%? Is it 14%? So, or is it 20%? Well, for me, I'd like to make 20%. So that means that these 4 properties should have generated $30,000 a year in income for me. But they didn't. Because we had so many Airbnbs, we had to hire an employee, we're running a business, right? We had to do all this stuff. By the time my wife and I got together in February and figured out that these houses are making about $500 a month each as Airbnbs and all the extra work you gotta put into them, we'd like, this is a no-brainer, we sold. Why? Because I can take that $150,000 into a down payment, maybe into a unique cabin with views, and do a lot better on my return on equity, right? And I think that's probably reading, I don't know, like it really all gets down to hedge funds and their philosophies and how they want to hold and what they want to do. But at the end of the day, let's say you've got 150 million now in equity, and they're only making 4% on that return on equity. Is that are their investors happy with that? Right? Because at the end of the day, it's people like us that give hedge funds money, right? People like us, doctors and whoever else, they make a lot of money, and so they just give hedge funds the money. That's how hedge funds come to be. They collect private money, basically, right? And so in this particular case, it just depends on the philosophy. I don't know if you're ever going to see everybody sell off all of these properties. I just don't know. If rents continue to go up, why would you sell, right?
And I look at the question, you sell because you're tired of it. You're tired of it. You're tired of it. In other words, I've got a great friend who's very wealthy, and he's just tired of it, but he's tired of having to deal with them. So guys, look at your parents my age, at your grandparents my age, and think, okay, are you ready to get rid of those properties? Because that's a great investment, guys. Do you know why y'all are not seeing more investment properties out there? Because they're not looking. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking for businesses now. I want to find an established business that the guy is retiring. He's already proven it's a successful business, and he or she is going to retire, and they're trying to sell that business. And if I see an opportunity to go in and buy a business, call it, I don't know, some easy businesses or laundromats, car washes, like things of that nature. That's kind of what we're going into now and trying to figure out. Because houses, they're expensive. Like, you buy a house for $300,000, you go start a UPS store, you can buy a business for, don't start a UPS store and be a realtor, that's never gonna work. It is a job. But those are the types of things that I'm starting to look at outside of real estate that I can invest in. And the other thing is too, you might say, well, I don't have time to do that. I'm running around like a chick with my head cut off trying to deal with 42 contracts. That's fine. If you have a bunch of money, then put your money with somebody that goes and has the time to do that. Like I literally hunt for deals 8 hours a day. That's all I do. And so when I get a deal, I call Reed and say, Reed, do you have any IRA or 401k money that you want to invest with me on this deal? And here's where I think it's going to pencil out, and you feel comfortable with it. And Reed says yes or no. He'll give me a little piece of his 401k to go invest. And we've done that several times, you know? And so if you guys have 401ks, right, you can convert them to self-directed
Our parents
401ks.
do,
Or
our parents
Roths,
do,
yes,
Our
yep.
grandparents do,
Yep.
Dr. Watchell.
So you have access to money, it just may not be the money you have sitting in your checking account, right? So there's all kind, I mean, we could talk, that's a whole other meeting to talk about how to tap capital. But investor capital is somebody who's willing to pay you 8, 9, 10, 12% or partner with you, right?
I was gonna say in that scenario is, and I was, to get some CE hours, I just took the hard money lending class that's taught through, and it's a company that does, he hates to use the word hard money because it has negative connotations. But he put a bug in my ear is don't, and I've been in one of these, is look around your family and friend circles. And if you have people who says, yeah, you understand real estate, I don't, here's 50,000, that's a ton of money, but if you think about an IRA, so think about your circle of friends. If you could cobblestone $200,000 or $300,000, as I did with 2 other partners 20 years ago, we bought a self-storage facility at $1.5 million.
Yep.
And we sold it in 16, and you know, over time it was more of a tax play than but we walked out with money when we sold it because the market got strong for them, and we looked at the cap rates and we was like, now's the time to sell. So look around in your friends and family circle. People there's deals out there to be found. So
I'll end with one more thing really quick. So this, can I go through just some high level analysis of this lodge that we bought? So the lodge, I wanted to get 10,000 a month in cash flow from the lodge. It's not passive, it's still pretty active, but we work on it a lot.
And tell them the difference.
Huh?
Between active and passive.
Oh, passive is, it's just mailbox money, it's showing up with very, very little effort, right?
Yeah.
But active passive is like, it's a business, I'm working on this lodge business, so that it'll produce 10,000 in passive at some point, right? But the way we worked this deal out was, we bought a $3 million asset and we did a cost segregation study on it. You do this on rental properties too. If you have rental properties and you haven't done a cost segregation study, you should, because you get bonus depreciation. So crazy thing is, on my tax return, because we bought this property, I get to write off $220,000. I didn't make $220,000 this year on paper. So I will pay 0 in federal income tax because we bought this lodge, right? Now, this is one of those things I told you about, people that didn't need leverage. We actually got leverage because we bought a unique piece of property that nobody else thought would work. And I knew that it would work, and I found it. So I got lucky. I mean, I got lucky because I look all the time. And so, but bonus depreciation is your friend. So if you've got rental properties out there and you haven't done cost segregation studies on them, and a cost segregation, there's companies out there that do it for like $1,000, $1,200, and it gives you all this kind of upfront bonus depreciation. So if you made a lot of money selling real estate and you've got a lot of rental properties, make sure you do those types of studies.
I have a question. So if I have my house in Seattle that I rent out, and I have about $450,000, $500,000 worth of equity in it. If I took out and I'm just by myself, I don't have any partners or anything like that, but I wanted to invest in something. I just want to take out maybe $50,000. What would be a good investment for me? Just safe for me by myself, no partner or anything like that.
Well, it depends, right? If you're gonna take $50,000 of equity, are you gonna pay like 5% on a HELOC or something? You see the math?
She needs a realtor.
Huh?
She needs a realtor.
Yeah.
That's a question that you need to ask. I mean, I'm not being a smart aleck. That's a question that you need to ask an investment professional called a realtor.
I mean, the thing is, right, like, let's say it's $100,000 you wanna take out of equity. If you're doing a cash out refinance and pulling $100,000 out, you're gonna have a 5 or 6% interest rate, right? So the most you can make on your $100,000 is probably 12%. So then that's the question, is it worth pulling that equity out to make 6%, right?
No.
Now, if you can make 20% or 30%, or you find a really great deal by working with a realtor, right, that can help you pencil this deal out, then it might be worth pulling cash out to go buy something else with the equity and keeping the Seattle property. Because the Seattle property is still appreciating, right? And you have 2 assets instead of 1. And so when something happens to this one, you have the other one to help prop it all up.
And I would Google that question.
Okay.
And Gary Keller says that you need to become an expert in that area. Just Google it, just say, hey, how can I do this, why don't you do this? And there'll be multiple books out there that may help you out. But yes, connect yourself with a great realtor that understands that portion of you, what I mean? To let them help you out, because they don't make any money unless you do something, so I do that.
And realtors, you guys have got to learn how to pencil. If you're gonna work with investors, please don't go to somebody and say this is a great deal for an Airbnb. There's so much of that crap going on right now on Facebook, it's driving me insane. And, you know, you got companies like STR Wealth Brokers, there's no wealth to be made in STRs right now. Like, you have to do value add, like, you have to go in, deals do not pencil. Right now, they just don't.
Yeah, if you're putting minimum money down on an investment property, and you're probably, if rates are 6 3/4, right? Your average investment property, you're at 7.5, 7 3/4, okay? It doesn't pencil. Now, if you want to, or your client is like, hey, I'm gonna hold it for 10 years, I got the cash flow to handle the difference, right? Then it's a conversation, right?
Yeah, do you wanna
Short-term rentals are a job, though.
Right, they are a job.
They're a
And
J-O-B.
And to Jim's point, right? He says, I didn't make a good decision. I think he did make a good decision. He lived for free, could go to the beach anytime he wanted to for free, forever, 10 years, right? That's a long time to invest in your marriage, your spouse, all that stuff. Yeah, tax advantages.
He didn't talk about that.
Depreciation, right, yeah, we never even get into the kind of the, under the, like, the real
Under the hood,
foundation.
yeah.
Nobody talks about the engine, right? But at the end of the day, if your goal is, I want a cabin to go to in the mountains and hang out with my kids, and I'm gonna do short-term rental, and I don't care if I make a ton of money, I don't care if I make any money, as long as it just breaks even, that's an investment, right? But it's not an investment for me, because I depend on my investments to make money today, because I need the money to live, right? Yeah, so again, you've gotta have conversations to go back to that, to determine what you want. And then you talk to people, and if you do find a deal that pencils, you need to go, oh my gosh, I found a deal that pencils. Let me talk to a couple other people and make sure it's legit and I didn't miss anything, and then you make sure you figure out how to buy that place.
You will find the money.
So a deal that pencils for you is more than, obviously, close to 20%.
I like to make high returns, which makes it harder for me to find really good deals. Yes.
What's the term, Terry? What did you say? High?
I like to find high margin deals.
Oh, high margin.
Where 15 to 20%, even 25% is realistic.
ROE, your ROE, you're looking at.
Anything, like cash on cash even, like if I'm putting in 100 grand, I wanna make 15% on that money.
You should.
So, and right, because if you go in the gold going, if I can't make 15%, then I don't do it. But if I do make 15%, if things go sideways, are you still making money? Probably. I might only make 8%, but if you know that going into it, oh, I'm okay with a 5% return, and things go sideways and now you're underwater 3 or 4%, I just don't like, to me, I told you I like to win, right? Negative numbers are losers to me, so I don't like negative numbers.
Guys, if you're gonna do this, you have to become an expert in the area. You have to read about it. You have to read. And were you this smart 10 years ago? No.
No, John Ellinger, man. If John Ellinger will sit down with you and tell you a story, man, it'll change your life.
He'll tell you start with one.
Yeah.
Start with one at 19.
Yeah.
Had no money.
19, because his dad kicked him out of his house. His dad was a doctor.
Kicked you out of my house.
Kicked his son out of his house. And John, he told me, it's one of the best things my dad ever did, but I hate him for it. You know, I mean, like, not really hate him for it, but you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty bold. Okay, son, you're 19, get up. But that's old school, right? That's what they did back then. That's super old school.
My poor son, he's 19.
Hey guys, did you learn anything today from this guy? A band director is pretty smart.
Yeah.
And I was almost a band director myself. I
can only count to 4.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you,
Thank you guys. Thank you all.